welcome. Coffee with Chris this morning on a beautiful Friday. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm just doing a little mic check here. Check. It sounds like I sound good, but you guys, like always, let me know if I don't sound good. Uh, so I am. Let's start with the coffee today. So if you first time you watching this, I do coffee with Chris every Friday, and right around 10 a.m. here. And it starts off with me telling you a little bit about what I have in this cup. We do maybe a little bit of coffee review. We talk about coffee news, which I got two articles here. One I think is a little bit more interesting than the other, but I think you guys will like it nonetheless. And then also, we talk a little bit about the event side of Hot Shots. And in this case, we're going to talk today a little bit about a wedding that we just did. So some of you guys out there still debating about your wedding and how to do it correctly and how your vendors should be doing it correctly. I'm going to talk a little bit about that today as well. So hope you guys are doing great today and having a wonderful Friday. Hopefully had a great week so far. And I'm just excited to be doing this show with you guys today on this Friday. So let's start. Let's start with the coffee, I guess. So if you know me and you know our business here at Hot Shots, we are really big into Lavazza. And Lavazza is actually kind of our core staple for all of the events and stuff that we do, is the staple product that we use. And it's for very good reason. So Lavazza has been around for over 100 plus years. It's a family owned business, and their coffee is some of the best coffee that you can get. If you've ever been to Italy, you probably have heard of Lavazza. If you've never been to Italy, then you probably have heard of Lavazza through local fine dining and high-end restaurants. High-end hotels have this product, but it's more of a home brand based out of Italy. And we use it just because the quality is really, really good. The consistency is spot on, and it just makes for a great cup of coffee. A lot of other people out there and a lot of other businesses out there like to use kind of local roaster coffees and stuff. And we've worked with a local roaster, actually one of the best here in the DFW Metroplex, for quite a while. And we carry their coffee as well. And I'm speaking kind of Avoca. But there's a few other roasters in town that some other coffee shops like and all of that. But we don't really use them for espresso because it's a proprietary system that we use. And we have that with Lavazza. So wanted to give you that kind of forefront because that's what I like to drink almost daily, is have some kind of Lavazza coffee. And so I bought their Lavazza K-Cups. And the coffee side of things, I'll tell you, when I say I drink Lavazza coffee, I drink more of their espresso. And I have used their coffee. We've done their coffee and used their coffee for many years in our event business when we go out and do events. Their coffee is good. For the average person, it's excellent. And that's not knocking the average person. But their coffee, to me, could have a little bit more oomph, which I like from local roasters because it's fresher, I would say, in some cases. And maybe that's what it is that's missing. It might not be that it's the case that it's a freshness, but it's more of maybe the case that the coffee is just different. It's different tasting than what you get with the espresso. It's different tasting than that, and it's different than a local roaster coffee in a lot of ways. But their coffee is very, 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 very good. And so, just so I'm not confusing anybody here, when I say Lavazza coffee, I'm talking about the Perfetto here. This is their K-Cup brands, and this is a lot of stuff that you find at the grocery store. And we've used these coffees for several events, like I said, over the years. Obviously not in a K-Cup, but a wholesale. But I love the coffee in this format, but I'm not head over heels for it like some of their other stuff that they have, or even some of our local roasters like Avoca and some others. So for the regular drip coffee, I like to have our own, which we got straight from Colombia, which I've told you guys about. That's the event blend that we use. I like it a little bit better than this. It comes fresher on a pallet. It's not sitting, in a bag or in a box. Yeah, that's just what I like. So that being said, the reason why I'm pointing that out is that I like this Lavazza style coffee. They have the Perfetto. This is the Classico. This is their medium blend. It's just not strong enough for me. And it's not like their espresso that we use for all your events and everything else like that. So I tend to kind of drink it on occasion when I can. Now, for the average person, these are some fantastic coffees. If you haven't tried these yet, get them in a K-Cup like this. And I think, most K-Cups are like $7-8 a box. But get them in a K-Cup, try them, see if you like them. I am a big fan of Lavazza, period, so I just get this stuff. But as far as K-Cups go, you're probably not going to find much better coffee in a K-Cup other than like an Illy or some of these other ones that I've tried. Just because typically the coffee, to be honest, a lot of the wholesale or a lot of the name brand, retail brand type coffees in K-Cups are just not that great. So if you're looking for something new to try in a K-Cup, I would definitely give Lavazza a shot. Like I said, they're the main coffee we use for all of our events as far as espresso. It's fantastic, perfect. Their coffee, to me, I'm kind of being snobbish here. Their drip coffee stuff and their K-Cup stuff is really, really good. It's just, to me, I like to drink something a little bit different. And to me, that's where a lot of the roasters come in. That's also where our brand of coffee comes in and all of that. But I will tell you this one. So what I like out of these, period, is the Classico. This is too weak for me. They also have another one. I think the Gran Aroma is not the same as the Espresso Gran Aroma. And then the Perfetto here. This I like. This is what I'm drinking this morning. I put a little cream in it. This is actually my favorite. So I would say if you're going to try one, if you like, it's a supposedly darker roast. To me, it's more like a little bit darker than a medium. But that's what I like. If you like a rich, kind of bold coffee that's in a K-Cup and you're comparing other K-Cups, then I would say I would definitely not hesitate to try this one here. So also, if you can see that, I am using my Roswell, New Mexico mug. If you don't know, we like to go to Roswell, especially for the UFO festival. And so we got this mug, and this is one of my favorite mugs to drink out of. Okay, so let's get into some news, shall we? So, talking about coffee, let's talk about this right here. Well, that's actually not what I want to talk about. Let's see. I did not want to talk about Rice Krispie Treats. There we go. For some reason, that is weird. Okay. I don't know why this is moving like this, but hopefully you guys can see this. So, Kahlua is making canned nitro cold brewed infused with rum and coffee liquor. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this is, if a lot of you guys don't know, this is something that's kind of recently taken off, I would say, in a way, is really the whole nitro cold brew in a can format. Starbucks just released theirs not too long ago, that they're getting into their nitro. They've gotten into nitro. It took them a while. We were actually almost like 2 years ahead of Starbucks doing the nitro for events. So if you guys are interested, and that's what I'm going to talk about here a little bit, is tell you a little bit how nitro cold brew works. And really, just this is an interesting article because more and more people, or more companies, I should say, are getting involved on the nitro cold brew bandwagon, if that makes sense. So Kahlua now has started this. They're doing a nitro cold brew that's infused with rum and Kahlua, which I think is probably very delicious. Um, Especially who doesn't like Kahlua? Some people don't, and I get it. But I think I think it will probably be pretty good. As far as the nitro cold brew, so what is nitro cold brew? Well, basically, cold brew itself is just coffee, and I'm just giving you kind of the layman's terms. So cold brew in itself is actually just ground coffee. Normally, you do a little bit of a coarser grind, but in my experience, it's not always the case. More than likely, it's not based on what coffee you're using. But you would basically grind up your coffee. You put it in some kind of container, like you would brew, a regular cup of coffee. Only the difference is now you're infusing the coffee not with hot water, but you're infusing it with cold water, and you're normally doing that for about 12 to 24 hours. So that's kind of the cold brew to make cold brew, and what that does is it in a way it makes the coffee supposedly less acidic. Less harsh, I guess, in other words, too. But it, in a lot of ways, to me, it can make it even more acidic, but it should make it uh, really smooth tasting, if that makes sense. And some people argue whether or not you get more caffeine out of it. Um, I would say yes, but realistically, I mean, when we do it, and when a lot of roasters and people do it, they're doing it in big vats, big batches. So it's not like you're brewing a small cup of coffee. You're normally doing it in a larger size for the masses, and sometimes even larger, since you can keep it in refrigeration or something like that too. So I think the jury would still be out on that. But the great thing, not so much talking about cold brew, but when you infuse nitrogen with the cold brew, that gives it a very frothy taste, and it totally changes what the coffee and all that looks like. So to me, I like the nitro cold brew. I think the nitro is really good, but at the same time, I should say I like the cold brew, but the nitro cold brew I like even more. And cold brew, to me, the first time I ever had cold brew, I actually had it at a local coffee shop. Begins with an A. Uh, Here in Dallas, off of Oaklawn. You probably know what I'm talking about. And that was the first time I ever tried cold brew. It was kind of probably the start of the whole cold brew phase, even though cold brew's been around for a long time. It to me almost tasted like a whiskey, So if that makes sense, it's not as unpalatable, but at the same time, it does have a lot of. I shouldn't say it doesn't have acidic, but it has kind of a harsher aftertaste, almost like you would be drinking like a whiskey or something like that on the rocks. So that's what it reminded me of, and it's cold. But the nitro, when you do the nitro and you do it right, most places don't, in my opinion, don't do it right. But what you should have is you should have the nitro, you should have the cold brew coffee, then you should have a nice head of nitrogen, a nice head of that crema, if you will, or the fizz on top. It should be nice and thick, like a Guinness beer. That's what your cold brew should be looking like. Now, I've had a lot of cold brews from Starbucks. They get it right most of the time, but I think where they fall short is the coffee itself is not my favorite. But we do a nitro cold brew, and the cool thing about our nitro that you're not going to find anywhere else, just throwing in my 2 cents here. We were doing this for a while when we started. We had a big kegerator. If you don't know what a kegerator is, look it up. But basically like a big refrigerator, and it's got the kegs on top. So we did that for a long time, a couple years, and it's almost just a real pain getting it in and out of the truck, getting it over to the event. Nice setup, perfect. It did a really good job. But the biggest issue I found locally is actually getting the gas for this thing. And so we've done away with that now. We actually have a Nitro Brewer that is fantastic. And what it is it's basically a tap that sits on tabletop. We plug it in. and we have several of these, but we plug it in and basically we pull the tap and we get perfect nitro every time. So that's kind of the issue you have when you're actually working with a real physical gas instead of how ours is. I'm not going to get into it. It's probably too complicated for even me to comprehend. But basically, the nitrogen, when you're infusing it, you can actually pull nitrogen out of the air, and it's the way it's filtered. The air molecules filtered with the coffee create a certain gas, nitrogen. So I don't know how that actually physically works, but the machine that we have, we actually are able to put it tabletop, what have you, and we pull a perfect shot every time because it's not using any gas. It's already it's pulling it out of the air, in other words. So every time we do it, it's perfect. So that's pretty much nitro cold brew. But now they're putting it in cans. You're going to see that a lot more. Starbucks, like I said, is doing it. So I think that's great. And if you guys haven't tried a nitro cold brew, go to the grocery store, pick up a can, try it. Try it at a store, try it at Starbucks, try it at a coffee shop. See if you like it. It's going to be something that some people are going to love, and it's going to be something that a lot of people are going to hate. I'll just be honest with you. That's what most people I find when they taste nitro is kind of the feelings that people have. So let's talk about this. This is Italian police intercept coffee beans stuffed with cocaine. I just thought this was an interesting article because apparently, I guess in Italy they found this, and I don't know why this thing keeps jumping down here on you. But basically, in Italy, they found these coffee beans, I guess, going through, intercepted a package containing a couple hundred of these coffee beans, about 500 of them, I guess. And someone actually took the time, and I guess it must be enough money to do it, took the time to break open some of these coffee beans and then stuff them with cocaine and then carefully tape them up again with brown tape. And so you can see here, they look just like normal coffee beans, but then you can see them cutting it open here. And then there is basically cocaine in them. So I don't know. I that is just, to me, just pretty amazing. Obviously, I'm very happy they caught. Hopefully, these people were prosecuted and they found out who it was and everything. But yeah, to me, it's almost mind blowing that someone would take the time to do that. But anyways, I thought that was very interesting. You guys can look up this article. It's on Euronews. But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting. And then lastly, I wanted to also go over a wedding that we just did recently. So some of you guys out there are probably, thinking about weddings, trying to figure out what to do with your wedding, and can you even have a safe wedding? And I know I've been talking about masks. I've been talking about all these things over the last week or two. But I'm here to tell you, I mean, you could definitely do it. We've done actually a handful of weddings now in the last couple months. And, if you know us, our wedding market isn't normally as strong as our corporate and convention market that we do, but we've been doing a lot more weddings. I love doing weddings because it is very, in a lot of ways, more of a, I would say, emotional side of things. When the purchaser, the bride and their family, come out with us, normally they like to do a tasting. Matter of fact, I got a tasting here in a couple hours. But people enjoy doing the tasting. It's a lot more an emotional event than it is just selling some coffee and doing things like that. Not to say that the corporate events that we do and the conventions that we do, we love to do them. And people do have an emotional attachment a lot of times with those events just because we try to do it very, very well. But the weddings, obviously, it's a one-time deal, right? And so we like to make it perfect. We like to do the tastings. We want to make sure you get to come out. And if you are interested in having a tasting with us, please let me know. We're doing those right now, even during the COVID situation. Excuse me. Um, so I wanted to just kind of show you pretty much a wedding that we did, and that we can actually do this wedding. We did this wedding. They wanted some water and tea. We provided that. And I'm just going to let these photos play here. That's Dawn and I at one of the Springs venues. And this was just on Monday. And so we did our gourmet coffee experience. You can see Dawn and I both are fully dressed with our Hot Shots mask, our gloves, all of the great things that we have to keep everyone safe. And I know I've talked about this before. Excuse me. But I know I've talked about this before, is primarily, how we keep you safe for the events during this time. And this is how we do it. We wear our masks. We come out with gloves as soon as our feet touch the ground and we leave that truck. I mean, we have our gloves on. We have our masks on. We're coming to meet you. And we're getting ready for your event safely. As soon as our load-in procedure is, as soon as we get everything loaded in, we actually change the gloves. And then we put new gloves on as soon as we're ready to do anything that has to do with food-based and service. We have sanitizer always with us. Not only that, we also have spray sanitizer. And a matter of fact, this bar, when I went in there, the Springs venues, they always do a lot of different events, obviously. So you don't know when the last people were there or what have you. But even though the Springs cleans everything, I'm sure, and all of that, which I saw one of their girls there, she was cleaning and doing a great job making sure everything was safe. We even bring our own sanitizer. We cleaned this bar. We cleaned the back bar. We did that throughout the night, maybe 2 to 3 times. So, when it comes down to hiring vendors and doing stuff for your wedding or any event, really, during this time, you want to look for those things. You want to find a vendor that is wearing a mask, that is wearing gloves, that is, you'll see us, we kind of go a little bit overboard. We even have face shields that we wear if that's something that the client needs, or we feel like it's a situation that we need to be wearing that. But for the most part, we come out with our masks, we come out with our gloves, we sanitize the whole area, we make sure people are kind of doing the best they can with social distancing. Now, I will tell you, most of the weddings that I've done, the guests do not wear masks. Maybe a few guests, the older couples, what have you, wear masks. But for the most part, no one else really wears masks. So it's even more important for us and more important for me to keep our employees safe by doing everything we can to keep everyone safe, including myself. So, and my family. So, that's kind of the important thing, is if you're going to hire someone during this time to do an event, make sure that they have masks, make sure that they have gloves, and make sure that they're doing things. I mean, I keep hearing this other argument on the other side of this saying, well, the vendors don't want to wear masks, the vendors don't want to do this. I think it's also a little bit of responsibility for you. If you're going to host an event, you want everybody to be safe. You should want everyone to be safe. And so you got to make sure that your vendors, what are they doing? Don't be afraid to ask that. Ask the vendors, because some vendors aren't doing anything right now. I would say most are. I would say if you're a professional, you are. But it's not a thing a bad thing to ask, is what are you doing when you do events, and how are you keeping people safe and all that. And I've seen, trust me, I've seen vendors through this time, just through this short period of time. I've seen vendors that don't wear gloves. I've seen vendors that don't wear masks, and I've seen vendors doing that and serving food. So we like to do things right here at Hot Shots. And so all I can say, my best advice is, we had a great time with this wedding. Tried to keep it as safe as possible. Really when it comes down to it, that's all you can do. But at the same time, you can see how we're kind of set and ready to go, professionally ready to serve your event. And that's what we did. And we were very happy to help this couple out with their big day. And we were very honored to be a part of it. So other than that, guys, that is going to wrap it up today. I hope you guys are enjoying these. Now, last week I asked a question, what kind of information you guys want me to do? I do this on YouTube. I do this on my Facebook channel or Facebook page. And I don't always get answers, which is fine. But one of the things, the question I have for you this week is a little bit different. Is going to be, what is your favorite coffee? Okay, so I want to know what your favorite coffee, maybe not favorite coffee, but what is your favorite coffee drink? Do you drink espresso in the morning? What is your go-to? Do you drink lattes, cappuccinos? So tell me, leave it in the comment section below here. Let me know what your favorite drink is. What are you guys drinking out there? What do you guys like? And that's something I want to know, and I want to put some of them up for next Friday. I'd like to answer your questions, and I like to put it up here on the stream. Also, if you have any questions about coffee, maybe the gourmet coffee experience or anything like that, leave them in the comments section below. Let me know what you guys want to know about Hot Shots and the gourmet coffee experience and what we have to offer here. But other than that, hotshotscatering.com. You should know that website by now. If you're new here, check that website out. If you want to get, we're even going to start doing these masks. If you want to have these masks in our merch section, we'll have our Hot Shots mask. We already have our coffee. We have sanitizer and PPE products on our website at shophotshots.com. So that's a completely different site. It's for the experience. After the experience is what I like to say. So you got hotshotscatering.com, and then you have shophotshots.com, and that's more of our store. Hotshotscatering.com is our event services. So if you're interested in any of that, please let me know. And if you have any questions, let me know that too. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great Friday today. Have a great weekend. Be safe and enjoy some great, fantastic coffee this weekend. And let me know what you're drinking in the comments below. Thank you guys so much. I will see you guys next time.